Greetings, everyone. Rob Chassner here, continuing in our study of the book of Psalms. And this study will be Psalm chapter 16. So if you're following along, turn to Psalm chapter 16. Now, the label of this Hebrew would be pronounced miktam or miktam. It's a word that's part of the Old Testament Hebrew lexicon, which has a meaning that's not really ascertained. It's a technical term found in the titles of Psalms. It's a collection of Psalms which has a general meaning of golden, like a golden poem. And there are several of these in the book of Psalms, which include David, Asaph, Maskil, Mizmor, and Korah. All right, so let's jump into it. Bible scholars believe that this was written during the time when David was on the run, or he was a fugitive from Saul. Let's look at the first 4 verses. Keep me, O God, for I am safe in you. I said to the Lord, you are my Lord. All the good things I have come from you. As for those in the land who belong to you, they are the great ones in whom is all my joy. Those who have traded for another God, that's a small g God, bring many troubles on themselves. I will not take part in their altar gifts of blood, and I will not take their names upon my lips. Most of us are familiar with the various life events of David, so much so that we oftentimes read over his writings quickly or superficially, and we really don't take into consideration David's emotions, which he is expressing in his writings. And the intensity in this man's life. Now imagine that you're an insignificant person, and you're part of an insignificant family. You're nobody. You're nothing within your own family. Nobody knows you. Nobody cares about you. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you are taking a plate of cookies to your brothers. And then all of a sudden, you become a champion and you redeem an entire nation. All of a sudden, overnight, everybody knows you. Everybody is singing songs of praise about you. You are known to everybody. You're appreciated by everybody. You're beloved by an entire nation. And you become a hero and a redeemer of this entire nation. And then, by an act of marriage, you're brought into the royal family, and so one minute you're dirt poor, and the next minute you're living among the ruling elite. You came from the lowest of low, and now you're at the highest of high. Can you imagine what that might be like for this young man to experience such a thing? But then, even faster than all of this exaltation, you are stripped of everything. Imagine becoming a millionaire overnight, and 5 hours later, you lose everything. And so you can imagine what kind of an emotional roller coaster this guy must have been living on. And so he's been stripped of everything. He's penniless and starving to death. And then all of a sudden, you're being told that you are the anointed of God. You're given the promise years earlier that you were the anointed one. Now, many people, when they go through such an experience, they succumb to the temptation of, well, I think I'll just quit. That's it. I'm better off. I was far better off before this whole God thing came into my life. But notice that's not the tact that David takes here. That's not the route that he takes. Rather, David says that those who reject God, even during their times of trouble in their lives, David says, I know that those who reject God have a lot more trouble coming to them than what I have got in the moment. And so David is taking the position of rejecting God. That's not the way he wants to go. That's not what he did. David is not taking that position, but rather his approach is a little different. He's not going to get bitter. He's not going to get mad at God. But watch what his approach is now. Verses 5 and 6, the Lord is all that I am to receive, and my cup. My future is in your hands. The land given to me is good. Yes, my share is beautiful to me. Now, David had the ability to focus on what he did have in his life. There are some people who can only focus on what they don't have. Some people only focus on what they've lost in their past, and some people cannot get over their past or what they've lost in the past. Notice what David says here. God is my inheritance. That's what he's focusing on. He's focusing on God. Ask yourself, what is God doing in your life right now? Quit worrying about what you lost 20 years ago or some dumb thing you might have done 5 years ago. What is God doing in your life right now that is significant? This is what sustained David through all of his times of troubles and all of his challenges in life. He focused on, this is the good which God is doing for me in my life right now. You can spend your day complaining about what's wrong and bring yourself down, or you can spend your energy focusing on what it is which God is doing in your life right now. All right, verses 7 through 11. I will give honor and thanks to the Lord, who has told me what to do. Yes, even at night, my mind teaches me. I have placed the Lord always in front of me, because he is at my right hand, and I will not be moved. And so my heart is glad, my soul is full of joy, my body also will rest without fear, for you will not give me over to the grave, and you will not allow your Holy One to return to dust. You will show me the way of life. Being with you is to be full of joy. In your right hand there is happiness forever. Now notice what he says again, that he set his heart upon God. Notice that this man's will is involved here in verse number 8. I have set upon the Lord always. Notice he says that I have not moved, that there was a determination. His mind was involved. His will was involved. This had nothing to do with his emotions. It wasn't that he was feeling bad. It wasn't that he was feeling depressed. He was approaching this situation with reason and logic rather than with emotion. He says, my will is to focus on God. David understood that God's plan for his life went far beyond the time between when he was born and when he was to die. Notice he is acknowledging that God is not going to leave David in the grave. God is not going to leave David into darkness forever, but rather David is acknowledging that God is going to deliver David. And he's saying God is going to deliver him now, and he's going to deliver him in the life to come. All right, amen to that. That is Psalm number 16. Thank you for viewing. Our next study will be Psalm 17. Good day.